are you?
Good, 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 good. So we'll get this started, and got a bunch of kids on. Aaron Jaffe, who you probably know, is going to be like the host, and
Right.
we need to bang kids out. He'll bang them out if they're doing anything inappropriate. But first of all, thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me, and it's hopefully we can break up the monotony of sitting around all day and answer some questions, share some experience, and stay positive in a hard time.
Landon, what I'll do is I'll walk. I mean, our kids are probably pretty astute. They're kind of on YouTube and they're on Wikipedia, so they'll probably know your career. But what I'll do is I'll try and walk everyone through your career, starting as a youth and then all the way through, and pepper it with some questions about, advice, recommendations, each step of the way.
Sounds good, Quinn. Cheers.
Okay. So, kind of grew up in Redlands, number one. And then one of the first little stories that I heard was that, all American sports, basketball, football, baseball, there was a lot of kids your same age playing all those sports. But you were the kid that brought the soccer ball to school every single day. What turned you on to the sport at such a young age?
I have an older brother who's 5 years older than me, Josh, and I'm not really sure why he started playing, but from the time I could start walking and playing, he wanted to play soccer with someone. So if you can imagine a 2-year-old kid where most kids weren't touching a soccer ball till even 7, 8 years old at that time, I was way ahead of everyone else. And I wanted to be like my brother. I wanted to be as good as him. And so that's why I kept playing as much as I could, because I wanted to compete with him and be as good as he was.
Guys, all you guys that are listening, Aaron Jaffe, can you mute everyone? And then so that we don't have any background noise. So just all of you guys that are kind of listening in, Landon's first game, he scored 7 goals. So maybe from the day he started playing, you get an idea of what his calling was. So the question I want to ask now, Landon, probably for our players at San Diego Soccer Club, is what do you see the difference now in 2020 compared to back when you were playing for Cal Heat and the youth soccer scene? Because there's been massive changes in the landscape, as you know.
Yeah, well, you guys, you kids have the opportunity to get good coaching. You have better facilities. You have more of an opportunity to learn and improve than we really did. All the learning we did was on our own by using the wall, the curb, whatever. We didn't have fields to go out and train on. In some ways, I think that actually helped us. I think that made us more resilient. But you guys have so many options now. At that time, we had maybe 5 or 6 real club teams. Now you guys have tons and tons of options. The key for me was at a relatively young age having really good coaching. So at 10, 11, 12 years old, I had a coach who was very instrumental and worked with us constantly with the ball. Everything we did was with the ball, and it gave us this unique ability to be much better technically with the ball than other teams. So any way you slice it, there's no substitute for just touching the ball as much as possible. Especially at your guys' age. I don't think, I'm just looking at your faces, not too many of you are probably above 15, 16 years old. At a young age, there's no substitute for being able to touch the ball as much as you can. And that's all we did. We had a coach who did it, and then I was out on my own in the streets doing it as much as possible. And that translated for when I got to the higher levels.
What you're saying, this COVID-19 might help some of our kids? All right, so you're muted.
Yeah, let me find it 1 sec.
Okay, 1 second.
All right, there you go. You can do that.
Okay, so
sorry about that. Yeah, I was so just to answer. So, yeah, I think I think COVID-19 is for some families, it's good actually, because you have nowhere to go but in your backyard or your living room, and that's all we did. And so it wasn't structured. It wasn't, you know, passing or crossing and finishing and it was just touching the ball as much as possible. And I think that helped a lot.
I'm going to jump forward because I know you were part of the 17s and you were in the residency at Bradenton, and then you guys had a great U17 World Cup. Was it 99?
Yeah.
I think it was 99. And then after that, you ended up getting recognized, getting seen at a young age, signed a contract at Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. So give us a little bit of insight as a 16, 17-year-old going from sunny Southern California and then into, in essence, the cauldron of the Bundesliga. And just share that experience, what it's like.
Sure. Well, it was a wake-up call because I grew up in Redlands, but it's not too dissimilar from San Diego. It was a wake-up call for me to realize that not everyone gets to live in San Diego. Not everyone gets to see the sun every day. Not everyone gets it as easy as we do in Southern California. And for kids in Germany, this was their make or break opportunity. So for a lot of you guys, if you make it as a professional, great. If not, you get to play college, fine. If not, you still have, in most cases, something else to do in your life. But for those kids, it was either they do that or they go back to really poor circumstances in their country. So I think it was a wake-up call for me that if I wanted to be able to compete at that level, that I had to understand who I was competing against. And so as you guys move on and the competition gets harder and harder, you've got to understand that there are people probably more desperate than you, maybe who want it more than you. And if you can't meet that and match that, then it's going to be really hard to make it. And the only way you do that, to be honest, is by continuing to practice and get better and work hard. There's absolutely no substitute for it. There's no magic pill. Messi didn't take a magic pill. Cristiano Ronaldo didn't get a magic vitamin one day that made him better or made him the best in the world. They just worked at it as hard as anybody else or harder, and they end up where they were. And that's the truth, and that's the reality.
And it's good, guys, you hear that coming from, in essence, his era, the best U.S. national team player, leading goal scorer for United States national team, second leading scorer in MLS history, leading point getter in MLS history, and emphasizing the ability to work hard all the time. So when your coaches are asking you to do stuff, no excuses are allowed anymore. Just kind of then, Landon, you ended up making a decision at a young age that you wanted to come back and play in MLS. And I know that our kids will be aware that you played in San Jose, won a couple of MLS Cups, and then you ended up having a fantastic career with the Galaxy. Talk a little bit about, and you have San Jose, great team, great atmosphere, super, super, super educated community. And then you have the Galaxy, in essence, but on a different tier in respect to the resources, the money, star power, and compare both the teams, and then also the difference between the clubs in regards to the expectations.
Sure. So professional sports, for you guys, if you haven't learned this already, sports are really about expectations. So I don't know what sports you guys follow, but if your expectation based on your past, your history, the city you're in, how your fans feel, your expectation is to make the playoffs, then if you make the playoffs and advance a few rounds, that's a successful season. For other clubs, winning a championship is success. So even if you make the playoffs, that can be an unsuccessful season if you don't end up winning. And so for San Jose, we were sort of, and Quinny, you know this, we were a team and a club that not many people followed, not many people knew a lot about. And so our expectations were very low. And it was because of that, it was actually relatively easy to perform without pressure, without a lot of crazy fans, without media. without expectations from ownership, et cetera. The Galaxy was the other end of that spectrum because they had an owner who was spending lots of money on a great team, and they expected results. And so when you make it to this level, it goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. When you make it to this level, it's not okay to give half effort on a given day. When someone is paying you money to perform and to play, and then on the other end of that, fans are paying money to come watch you play, you have a responsibility. And that doesn't mean the game's not fun. That doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. But that's just a different part of this. And you guys are getting to an age where you're old enough now where, you know, if you go to college, it's not going to be crazy expectations, but when you go to schools, there are expectations that you perform and do well. Certainly, if and when you make it as a professional, some of you ladies on here, whether it's NWSL for some of the men, could be USL or MLS or somewhere else, that becomes part of your job, right? And that's your job on a daily basis. And again, it doesn't mean you don't enjoy it or don't love it, but there is a responsibility associated with that. And I guess my point is to you guys now, there are kids around the world in your exact same position who desperately not only want to become professionals, but need to become professionals in order to earn a living because they don't have anything else to do in their life. So if you can't match that level of desperation, it's going to be really hard to make it. And that's not to scare you, but it's just to be honest with you and tell you what it's like at that level.
So, and I mean, it's probably something, Landon, that you haven't played a lot of your career in MLS, so, but also with your experiences, you did go back and played at Bayern Munich. You did go back and play in Everton, and you did go to Mexico and play Leon. And so you have, different experiences from different parts of the world. And, obviously playing in 3 World Cups is also different experiences that not a lot of people on American soccer scene have. Kind of, I don't want to hijack the whole meeting, but I do want to kind of get into, some of your personal little jewels and players and stuff. So over the course of your career, either World Cup or an MLS, favorite players to play with? Who in your mind, in MLS, did you enjoy playing with throughout your career?
So the number one for me in MLS was playing with Robbie Keane, who played for Ireland. The reason why is because we played the game very similar. So we were the 2 forwards, the 2 strikers on our team. And when one of us came short, the other went long. When one checked out wide, the other would fill the space in the middle. When one came to receive the ball, the other would get out of the way. And we just had this understanding between us. And if you guys, you got a lot of time right now to go Google and look at highlights. If you want to go watch some of the goals that we scored, you see a lot of that where we're very, very much in sync. No matter what level you play at, if you don't have connections on the field like that, it's hard to succeed. So if, depending on what formation you play, if you're a right winger and you don't have a good relationship with your right back, your right fullback, in like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, it's going to be hard to succeed. If you're a center back and you don't have a good connection with your other center back, it's really hard to be successful because you can't play the game at the next level on an island by yourself. You need those partnerships. Robbie and I absolutely had that. So I would encourage you guys on your teams to form those relationships, if you haven't already, with the people next to you who are going to matter. If you're a center midfielder, if you're a 6, can you play, can you get to know your 8 or your 10 even better off the field, better on the field, so that you guys have a type of understanding that can push you to another level on the field? That happens at the highest level. That happens a lot. And Robbie and I had that, and we were able to destroy some teams. With the national team, Clint Dempsey was the best player I played with. Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley were close second to that. But Clint was, to me, the ultimate competitor. It didn't matter the game, the circumstance, the situation. We could be playing a scrimmage against an under-18 team, and he would have the same effort and mentality as if we played in a World Cup round of 16 game. It didn't matter to him. And he was talented, but he was also just the ultimate competitor.
And we're going to take Messi and Ronaldo out of the loop here. So your favorite players outside of those guys?
Right now, honestly, even though it's probably weird to hear from me, I think the most impactful player in the world right now is Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool. His ability to impact the game at a high level is better than anybody else in the world right now. He single-handedly changed his games as a center back, which is very, very rare. So if you don't know who he is, look him up. If you do watch the Premier League, or used to before COVID came around, watch Liverpool and watch him play and how he single-handedly impacts games at a really high level. That's on the impactful level. From a just like purely aesthetic and watching players and seeing special players play, when healthy, I think Neymar is very special to watch. I think Kylian Mbappe is a little bit different than most players around the world in that position and is pretty special. And then obviously Messi and Cristiano.
A couple more questions from me, Landon, and then I'm going to open it up to either our coaches or our players that are on Zoom watching you this afternoon. All the teams that you played on, the national teams, the club teams, the World Cups, and obviously we all remember the goal against Algeria that got us through the next round, the World Cup. But favorite experience over the years for you?
I've had a lot, and the experience, actually, it's a good question because the experience is oftentimes better than even the results of the game. So the Algeria goal was very special because of what it meant to U.S. soccer and what it meant to the men's game. But the actual just experience of being in a World Cup and understanding what that is really special. One of my most vivid memories is in 2002, my first World Cup. Actually didn't even have to do with the game. I was just walking out the tunnel for warm-up with DeMarcus Beasley, someone I had been with since I was 16 with the youth national teams, and looking at each other and realizing that this little young, skinny kid from Fort Wayne, Indiana, which was DeMarcus, and this other skinny little kid from Redlands, California, which was me, we both grew up in pretty poor circumstances. We're now about to go out on the field and start in a World Cup game. And just having that moment of realization where you understand that you were able to come from very little and make something of your life is a really special moment. And that was really powerful to me. Yes, the games and the goals and all those things are really special too, but when you take a second and can appreciate the journey you've been on, it makes it, I think, a little more meaningful.
Fantastic. Last question from me, and then I'll let the rest of the crew join in. Give us an update and some insight into your new role with our USL team in town, San Diego Loyal. I mean, unfortunately, I know we all were at the first game, and then you won the midweek game up in Tacoma 2-1. So you're top of the league, which is great. But share a little bit about getting involved with the Loyal, getting involved with Warren Smith, and then what the vision is for yourself, the ownership, and the team going forward.
So you'll know this, Quinny, having lived in this town for a long time. It's a shame that since the days of the Soccers and Soccers are still around, but from an outdoor perspective, that there hasn't been a professional outdoor team here in the highest levels of soccer in so long. So finally, we do have that. And it's a little bit of a challenge, I think, for kids because they don't even know that can exist in this city, which is such a big city and such a soccer hotbed in this country that it's pretty crazy that they haven't had the opportunity to actually look up to their idols and look up to people who are in their hometown to see what's next, to see what the next level looks like. So now we have the opportunity to do that here. kids can come to the games at Torero Stadium and learn and see up close and personal what it looks like. If I'm a center back, I can watch Joe Greenspan, one of our center backs, and say, oh, that's what he does at that level. And that's really, really valuable in all of your guys' development. It's one thing to watch the Premier League every Saturday morning and you see one camera angle and you're following the ball and you see Mo Salah and Sadio Mane and Kun Agüero scoring amazing goals, but that's not as relevant to what you are doing or what you might become as watching someone at this level in your own backyard up close and in person, or coming to a training session to see how these players train every day. So we finally have that here. Hopefully at some point soon here we get back to playing so that we're back on the field. But I'm really proud that we can finally have a team in this town that will make a real impact. And we're working, I don't want to give away too much, but we're working on a system and an opportunity in the future to start to bring some of our young players that are really talented, maybe some of you on this call, into some version of a reserve team or even into our first team to start training and be a part of what we're doing. So that will happen hopefully in the beginning of next year, so that the very talented players who are really dedicated and putting in the time get rewarded and have a chance to be a part of their hometown team. That's on the men's side. On the women's side, we are in the process of creating a similar type situation, although we don't have a pro team yet for the girls to aspire to. We're looking at some version of a reserve team that allows the most talented girls in this town the opportunity to take the next step to move to the next level. So again, without giving away too much info, that is what's on the horizon for us, because that's the way you actually tie in what we're doing at the very top level to the levels below that, and give kids a real opportunity to be a part of one, their hometown team, but two, a platform to move on and become a professional if that's something they want to do.
Thanks, Landon. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to probably Aaron Jaffe. Aaron, you will have the questions and you can identify the kid if you want to spotlight them, and then they can ask their questions to Landon individually.
You're on mute, Jaffe.
Perfect. Sorry. Good call. On the right-hand side, we got this little...
Wakey.
we got a little raise hand icon over there, and I tossed something in the chat. Just go ahead and raise your hands. I will go and unmute you, and then you can ask your question, and then we'll let Landon respond to it. So first up, we got Ethan. Ethan, go ahead, bud. Ethan, you there? I unmuted you. All right, let's go one down. We'll leave Ethan. Noah, you ready, Lucan?
Hey, Landon. You're an expert than me. I just want to say that. So thank you for all the memories with the Galaxy. But my question is, what is it like to win an MLS Cup? And which was your favorite with the Galaxy, 2011, 12, or 14?
Looks like you got quite a bit of scars there.
Yeah.
That's impressive. How old are you, Noah?
I'm 15.
Okay. What was the first part of the question? Sorry.
What is it like to win an MLS Cup? What does it feel like?
Yeah, so what I would tell you guys are young, and you're trying to make something for yourself, right? And that's an important part of being young. You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to either play in college or potentially play professionally. So you're focused on yourself, and that's natural and normal, and I did that for the early part of my career. What I realized, however, is the most important moments and the most special memories in my life, and I think Brian, Quinny, you can attest to this too, are the moments where you win, whether it's winning a game or a tournament or a season or a championship. Those are the moments that actually stay with you, because as human beings, we're social creatures. We like to do things with other people, right? Like, is it fun to shoot hoops by yourself or shoot on a goal by yourself? Yeah, but it's better when you got a few teammates and a goalkeeper, and it's just a more enjoyable experience. And so when you come together and put together an entire season, especially, and win a championship together, those memories are much more valuable than any goals I scored or assists or any of those things. So the feeling of winning an MLS championship means that you, in that moment, you are part of a team that is the best team at the highest level of soccer in this country. There's nothing better than that. And that was really, those were the moments that were really special. And the second part was?
Well, which championship with Galaxy was your favorite? 11, 12, or 14?
Probably 2011, because in 2007, David Beckham came to our team.
Right.
And our team for 2 years was really bad, really poor. We started getting better in 2009, 2010. We were
because
better.
of him.
What's that?
Because of Beckham.
No, it wasn't because of Beckham. No, our team was bad. He made us better, but 2011, it finally all came together and we won. So there was as much a sense of relief as there was joy, because the expectations, like I was talking about earlier, were for us to be champions. Our club was spending a ton of money. We were in LA, the biggest market. We were expected to win, and then we finally won. So that was great. Good questions.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Noah. Up next, we have Aria. Go ahead and unmute you here. All right, Aria, you should be good to go. Oh, did you just mute yourself? There you go.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. Hi, Landon. So my question is, while you were going up in the ranks of becoming a professional footballer, was there ever a point in your career where you thought about giving up or stopping? And if you did, how did you overcome that?
Very good question. If some of you have felt that way, it's totally normal. Especially, if you're in a club and you're training 3 or 4 days a week for a long time and playing a bunch of games, that can happen. That's totally normal. There are kids I played with on the under-17 national team who reached that point. I reached that point a few times in my career for different reasons. At one point, actually very young, 20 or 21, when I was in Germany and not playing, I considered, should I keep doing this or should I just go find something else to do? I wasn't enjoying it anymore. Perfectly normal. I think what is important is to try to find a way to get back to your core and figure out, one, do you really love this game? And do you really love playing? If not, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's forcing you to do that. If you do, how do you keep it fun, right? How do you mentally make sure that it's fun? And sometimes it's having a conversation with your coach or your parents, maybe saying, don't push me as much, or can I try a different position, or can I try doing that, just so that you have the ability to have that conversation and so they understand where you're coming from. At the professional level, I would do that with my coach all the time. Bruce Arena was pretty hard on me, and it would make sure I was training every single day, and that got hard after a while. And I'd say, Bruce, I need a break. I'm going to break here. I need a break. And he would listen, and he'd give me a break, and I'd take a break and come back refreshed. So there were a few times that happened. It's completely normal. I would just urge you that if you do get to that point, don't make a rash decision. Sit with it, think about it, talk to your parents, talk to your coaches, talk to your teammates. It's more common than you think. Some players can go forever, love playing every day, no issues. That's great. I envy that, but I was never that player. So if those feelings come, express them, talk about them. If you, after talking about them and expressing them, you realize that this isn't for you, then you find something else that makes you happy. But I would think at this point, you do love playing this game and being around this game just like I do, and eventually you'll come back to realizing you want to keep playing.
Awesome. John.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, Landon. This is just so I was looking back at the 2002 World Cup against Germany, and I was looking at the national team then, and I just noticed how much more drive and more technical skill we seem to have back then than we do now. What do you think happened, and what do you think needs to change in the U.S. soccer system to get a team that was like that again?
It's a great question, John. And Quinny has seen it as well, a long time, probably Aaron too, in this country. This is only a guess. There's no data that proves what I'm about to say. what the difference is, having been a part of that team and then being a part of the national team all the way up till 2014, and then watching 2018 when our men's team didn't qualify for the World Cup. The difference I see is what I was talking about earlier. The team in 2002 had players on it who it wasn't an option to not care or not try or not work hard. They didn't have that option because they weren't making millions of dollars like the 2018 team was. They had to do it for their livelihood. So guys were making 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand. They didn't have a choice to just not try because they might lose their job, and now they had to figure out what else they were going to do for a living. So that wasn't an option. When I used to go to camp with the 2002 team, I would get kicked so hard every training session by every one of them, and the sessions were so competitive. Every day was like a war because everybody wanted to play. If they played, that meant more money. That meant they could support their families. That was the reality, and I had to learn that. I was an 18-year-old. Money wasn't an issue for me. I was like, oh, who cares? I'll make money later. But those guys, it meant everything to them. So now I see a little bit of, it's not entitlement. It's just, it's not as urgent for some of our guys anymore. It's not that big of a deal. If you're earning $6 million a year playing for Toronto, you don't make the World Cup, no big deal. For our guys, making the World Cup meant more money from playing in the World Cup, more recognition, which meant an opportunity to play at a bigger club, which meant more money, which means I could feed my family. You get the gist of it, right? So there was more of that. There was more battle in our guys, and that's really important. And you can't fake that. You can't make it up. You guys just need to understand, if you don't come from a situation like that, that is what you're competing against. And that's very real for people. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You guys are old enough to understand that is very real. And that is a part of the game that is very real. And if you don't get that right, it's going to be hard to make it.
Question,
And then
John.
John's mom is originally from Barcelona. So he goes back every year to kind of visit extended family. So he has a grounding in regards to what it's like in Barcelona with Barcelona and also Espanol.
That's great. Yeah, and those kids know it too. Like, some of them come from okay backgrounds, whatever, but this is their opportunity. It's their chance.
Yeah. Thank
Couple
you.
more questions, Aaron, and we'll let Landon go.
Yep, sounds good. All right, so we got to Declan here. Declan, you're unmuted.
Okay. I was gonna ask about the reserve team and the starting team. What is that gonna be? Is it gonna be like a camp or a recognition by coach or something like that?
So I said I wasn't going to get too deep into it, but now you're asking. Good question. There'll be more info to come, but basically what we want to do is, I'll just say it this way. We want to give players in this community the opportunity to get to the next level without having to go somewhere else if they don't want to, right? So if you don't want to uproot your whole family and go somewhere, but you have the ability or a possibility of playing at the next level, we want to give you that opportunity. We're not interested in having an academy to compete with SDSC or Surf or Albion or Nomads. We don't need to do that. Your clubs do a great job of getting you guys to that level. What your clubs don't have is the professional game, right? It's not what they do. It's not what they're focused on. We have the professional game, and we want to help you guys get there, right? So if there are boys and girls in this community who are good enough to get to that level, and your coaches call us and say, hey, Declan's a really special player, we think it's worth having a look, then we're going to have a look and do some scouting and figure out if we agree with that. And if we do, we want to help you get there. Whether you play for SD Loyal or not, we want to help you get on that path, because that's still missing in our country. And I wish I could have done that. I had to go to Germany to find that. Fortunately, there are a lot of opportunities to do that, but we want to provide that here in San Diego too. So not in a competitive way with the clubs, but in an additional way to help you guys get to the next level.
Sounds exciting, Landon. Final question, Aaron. You can maybe we'll have the question come from you, big man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to defer. There's too many good names up here. Yeah, I got to give it to one of the kids. So I'm just going to close my eyes here and kind of wiggle my mouse around and land on Gavin. Gavin's the lucky man. Go ahead, Gavin.
What is your favorite country you've been to when you're traveling to like a tournament or a game? Like, what's your favorite country you've been to?
Good question, Gavin. All right, you guys are gonna have to Google this one because I don't think many of you know this.
Don't say Cambodia.
No, not Cambodia. So in 2002, I believe, maybe 2002, I think, we had a World Cup qualifier in a country called Barbados. And that was my first time going outside of Jamaica, going to the Caribbean. And it was a really high pressure game because if we didn't win the game, we wouldn't even move on to the final round of qualifying. So they used to have, they would have an initial round and then a second round, which was the final round. And we had to win the game. And in the 60th minute, we were still 0-0. We ended up scoring and then winning the game 4-0. So it was a little easier in the end. But what made it amazing was we had a hotel right on the beach, which was really cool, white sand beach and beautiful resort. And then after the game, because we had won, we had quite a good celebration after on the beach, which was really, really special. So that was a really cool place I got to travel to.
Great, Landon. So, boys and girls, appreciation for all you guys joining in today. Big thank you to Landon for taking the time out of his schedule. And we look forward to the Loyal coming back, playing as soon as possible. And we'll probably do a club night to get out there to see you guys play, Landon. So big thank you from myself, San Diego Soccer Club, all our coaches, kids, and parents. Much appreciation.
Thank you guys very much. And you guys are doing a great job. Try to keep your spirits high. I know it's frustrating right now, but everyone's working hard so you guys can get back out and play again. But you guys are doing a great job. Keep going. And Quinny, Aaron, thank you. All the coaches, thank you. We'll see you guys soon.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.